Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Andrew from the Football Feast Extra podcast team. I'm back with the FPL show. It is that time again. After a great weekend of Premier League football, we saw Manchester United get absolutely swept aside by Manchester City. We saw Arsenal demolish Sheffield United with Eddie Nketiah getting a hat-trick. Some other great results. Fulham with that 1-1 draw with Brighton and a 3-0 win for Liverpool over Nottingham Forest, with Darwin Núñez getting a goal and an assist. Overall this week, some quite low points tallies, especially compared to the week before. The players we thought would do well haven't really done it this week. We're going to get into that. We're going to look at the top 5 teams as we normally do on this show. We're also going to look at the top 10 performing players of the week, as well as the top 10 performing players since game week 1. That's all to come on the FPL show right now.
Yeah. Football feast, this the Football Feast Extra podcast. Playing soccer, grab your keys. Playing soccer, time to meet. Playing soccer, time to greet. They finna talk a lot, okay? Playing soccer, get the cleats. Playing soccer, let's get it. Playing soccer, let's go. Football podcast.
Okay, everyone, let's take a look. This is the league. This is getting mighty close. We're getting into November now, so as we get closer to Christmas, it'll be interesting to see how this league looks. Boys and Dahoud has been top pretty much since day one. They were actually level on points last week with Blake Cowley's changed name. They pulled slightly ahead with a 2-point buffer on them this week, 59 points to the 57. So Boys and Dahoud and Courtney Robinson still remain in first place. Another good week for Barron at 66 points to take him to 655. He's now actually into third. And if you look below, the 2 teams below actually, Mason Mount Kilimanjaro and It's Me Mario, 2 teams that we've gone through before, both getting 82 points, which is pretty high considering the week that a lot of the players have had in these teams. So let's start by going through Courtney Robinson's Boys and Dahoud, the league leaders. Let's go through them first to see how he managed to get the 59 points. In goal, we've got Emi Martinez. No points for Martinez. No points for Lascelles or Dan Burn. This was a very bad week to have Newcastle defenders, which why personally I didn't do very well because I had 2 as well. So no points so far. Matty Cash, though, did get 5 points for his performance. Got a clean sheet and lost a point for a yellow card. So 5 points off from the first 4 players. Not a great start. We head into midfield now. We see James Ward-Prowse with 2 points. Nothing of note really in that West Ham defeat at the weekend. James Maddison, 6 points. Got an assist, I think, for that own goal on the Friday Night Football. Almiron, 2 points. Seems to be doing it more in the Champions League, Almiron, than in the Premier League at the moment. Unfortunately, Champions League doesn't count. Huminson, 10 points. Definitely one to put in your team at the moment. He seems to be consistently doing well. And when he doesn't, James Maddison does. So typically, one of them will always get you points, if not both. So Huminson, popular choice at the moment. Captain is Mo Salah, 16 points. He got 8 points. He scored 1 goal in that Liverpool win, the 3-0 win that I mentioned earlier. So that was the captain. And then up front, we had Erling Haaland, who actually was, other than Huminson, probably the better choice for skipper this week. And a lot of people didn't go for it because it was Manchester United. He scored a hat-trick against them last season, but it's a tough game on paper anyway for Manchester City. And then Ollie Watkins, 2 points for him, didn't really contribute to the points tally much. We've got Matt Turner in goal on the bench, 2 points. He would have been a better goalkeeping decision, but there's not much in it at all. Udogie did not play for Tottenham. He is on the bench. And then Archer and Gusto, 1 point for Archer, nothing for Gusto. So that is how Courtney Robinson's team looks going into the next week. Let's take a look at second place. Blake Cowley then, 57 points. Areola in goal, better start. 3 points for Areola. Already we're looking better here. Trippier, no points for Kieran Trippier. I've been saying for weeks how he's a must-have, but Newcastle really conceding those 2 goals, and there was a lot of bookings as well on that back line. No points for Kieran Trippier, and an expensive player to have for him to not get any points. So that could be detrimental this week. We've got Taylor, 6 points for Taylor. He scored a goal. That's a very good pick. I mean, he can't be owned by many people, so that's a decent shout there. Udogi, 0 points, didn't play as we've mentioned as well. Heung-min Son, we've spoken about, 10 points. Anthony Gordon, just not a good week really for Newcastle, unless you've got Callum Wilson in your team. 2 points for him. Mo Salah, 8 points. James Maddison on 6. We've got Erling Haaland with 16. Julian Alvarez with 2, and Ollie Watkins, the skipper, with 4 points. You would have backed Ollie Watkins to do something against Luton. Didn't do anything. Absolutely did nothing. I also captained Ollie Watkins, so maybe I'm a little bit biased here, but I regret that decision massively. Ollie Watkins didn't do anything. 4 points. On the bench, we've got a very similar bench. We've got Turner and Gusto, who are on Courtney's bench as well. Anderson, no points, did not play. Sergio Gomez, no points, did not play. Let's go into third place then, and we're going to look at Sean Barron. 66 points for Barron. He has Areola in goal. 3 points for him, as we've already mentioned. Dan Burn with 0 points. Tsimikas with 6. Now, you don't see this very often. Kept a clean sheet for Liverpool. Played the full 90. Really, really good spot there to put Tsimikas in the team. Pau Torres with 2 points. Bit hit and miss for Villa, Pau Torres. Van der Ven, who looks like such a good defender. 2 points. Obviously, Tottenham did concede late on. Desperately unlucky. It would have been 6 if that late goal hadn't have gone in. But Van der Ven, 2 points. Heung-min Son and Salah we've spoke about already, 10 and 16. Luis Diaz, of course, did not play, did not feature at all at the weekend due to the situation going on back home with his parents. Obviously, if you've not heard, they were kidnapped by thugs in Colombia. So Luis Diaz was unavailable and may probably be unavailable for the next few weeks. Not sure on that, not heard any more news on that. I also have Luis Diaz in my team, so he will be one I'll be keeping a close eye on when it comes to transfers. Semenyo, 9 points for him. That is an amazing shout. Got a goal and 3 bonus points. That's an absolutely phenomenal pick because, no one really has anyone from Bournemouth, let's be real. Erling Haaland with 16 points and Julian Alvarez with 2 points. So very, as you would expect, up front, other than that one pick. Matt Turner, 2 points on the bench. I think everyone's got Matt Turner on the bench this week. Gusto was again 0 points. Martin Ødegaard, 0 points. Did not play. I think that maybe Semenyo's actually made it into the team because he was dragged out by Luis Diaz or Martin Ødegaard not playing. So that's probably why he's in the team. I would have said it was very brave for Barron as an Arsenal fan as well to start him ahead of Martin Ødegaard. So that's obviously been switched by FPL. So it's still a good pick. It's still a good pick. Hudson-Odoi with 0 points didn't play. So 66 for Barron. And let's have a look at some of the high hitters then. We've got Mason Mount Kilimanjaro, 82 points. Let's have a look at what he's got. Areola, 3 points with Sin. Tsimikas as well, 6 points. Taylor with 6. God, I think these people know something that I didn't because I would never have thought in a million years to put these two players in my team, but the last two teams have both had them in. Pau Torres, 2. Mitoma, not seen him in a while. 2 points, not really in form at the moment, Mitoma. Saka with 6. He got an assist in that 5-0 win against Sheffield United. Heung-min Son we've spoken about, and so has Salah. Moussa Diaby, 13 points. 1 goal scored, 1 assist. Really good performance for him. He's the one you probably wanted instead of Ollie Watkins. So Ollie Watkins is in this team with 2 points. 3 Villa players you would, wouldn't you, against Luton? Erling Haaland on 16 points. The captain was Salah, but, it's an okay pick. It's an okay pick as captain. Turner with 2, Gabriel with 0, did not play. Was probably again rotated out for either Tsimikas or Taylor by FPL. Archer with 1 point and Austin Trusty, who I actually thought, I thought he actually played quite well, but obviously if you lose 5-0, you're not going to get any points as a defender. 0 points for Austin Trusty. The final team we're going to look at then is Itsumi Mario. Unfortunately, AFC Joe Linton, I can't even say the name today. AFC Joe Lintonale has dropped out of the top 5, so we won't be going through their team, but they probably had a lot of Newcastle players in there, and Newcastle didn't do particularly well. at the weekend, so that's probably why he's dropped out of the top 5. Let's have a look then. In goal, Areola, another pick for Areola. Areola and Turner seem to be the two. They're my 2 goalkeepers as well. They're nice and cheap. And, you know, you want to spend the money elsewhere if you can. They're both always going to start for their club. So that seems to be the rotation. Dan Burn, 0 points. Simicast, 6. Cash, 5. Pedro Neto got 5 points. Looks like he may be unavailable for the next game. Did get an assist though, Pedro Neto. Mo Salah with 16 as the captain. Moussa Diaby with 13. Saka with 6. And Son with 10. Haaland 16 and Watkins 2. So all players that we've seen before in teams. It's just a different combination of them. On the bench, we've got Turner. As I said, Areola and Turner seem to be that rotation. Mitchell with 1, Archer with 1, and Kabore with 0 points for Luton. Okay, so that is how the league table is looking. As we normally do, we will quickly go into the hosts' teams just to see how we're getting on, because we're the ones, you know, talking about it and doing shows about it. Let's see how we're performing. We've looked at Barron already. We'll then go, as we normally do, to the next team down, which I think here is going to be Billy. It is in 20th. He got 39 points. Which was quite a poor return. The thing is with Billy's teams, right, he's had some really good weeks, but when he has a bad week, he has a really bad week. He has got some awful point returns in some of the weeks, but he does well enough across the board to still be in a decent position, so fair enough. Let's look at the team then. We've got Sanchez in goal, 2 points. Interestingly enough, I know who his reserve goalkeeper is. We just scroll down and have a quick peek who is Flecken. Of course, Chelsea played Brentford. You would back Chelsea, but it was Brentford that come away with a 2-0 win. Therefore, Flecken would have been the better choice. So just funny how that's worked out. Diego Dallo, 1 point. Luca Dean, 2 points. Gabriel did not play, unfortunately, for Arsenal, 0 points. Mo Salah with 8 points. Gordon with 2. Son with 10. Maddison with 6. Ramos Højlund with 2 points. Yeah, there's definitely a player there in Højlund. He's just not getting the statistics, and he's not getting the goals. He's not getting the goal contributions. Ollie Watkins on 4 points. Julian Alvarez on 2. So, as you can see, a poor week, really, points-wise for Billy. We've seen Flecken on the bench. Udogie did not play. But obviously, because neither did Gabriel, there was no one really to trade out. So, he had to take the points hit on that one. Luis Diaz, obviously, we've spoken about his situation, 0 points. And Estepinian, also 0 points, not available at the moment for Brighton. So that is Billy's team, and he sits in 20th in the league. We go down a little bit more then, because we have still got myself and Tommy to go through. Here we are, 37th. I'm pretty sure I'm higher than 37th. Oh, here, I've missed myself here. And I'm highlighted in sort of a blue colour, and I still missed it. Here's me. Let's take a look at how I'm doing then. 49 points. Not great. Not awful. Areola and goal, as you would expect. Kurt Zouma, probably the first time we've seen Kurt Zouma in there, 2 points, so nothing spectacular. West Ham obviously didn't win that game, so Kieran Trippier and Dan Burn, 0 points each. So not a great start for me in defence. I've got Mo Salah with 8 points. Douglas Luiz, 7 points. First time we've seen him, he just seems to pick up points wherever he sort of plays. I think they said it on commentary in the Villa game, he's the highest rated budget midfielder in FPL this season. So he's got the most points for players in that sort of mid-range section. So if you're struggling for someone to put in, Douglas Luiz, even though he didn't score, he got an assist. He'll always pick up points in the middle for Villa. So 7 points for him. Billy Gilmore, he wasn't initially in my team. He was on the bench. I did have Luis Diaz, but of course he was taken out for the reasons we've discussed. James Maddison, 6 points. Erling Haaland, 16. Julian Alvarez, 2. And I also captained Ollie Watkins with 4. So better captaining decision would have really helped me this week. It wasn't to be. On the bench, we've got Turner, Diaz, Lamptey, and Serge Reguilon, who got 1 point. So I guess I could have gained a point if I'd have had him instead of Trippier or Burn. But pretty average week for me. And finally, we will look at Tom's team. Tom actually had a really good week. He's trying to make up the ground on the rest of us. Unfortunately, he's 37th, but he did get 51 points. Actually, that week wasn't as good as I thought. I thought he actually got more points than that, but 51, we've got Nick Pope and Dummett. I don't get why Dummett is in this team. I'm not sure if he was on the bench. He may have been on the bench and dragged out, actually, looking at the bench. But I think he's had Dummett in a few times. He doesn't play for Newcastle. He's never going to get any points. Matty Cash with 5 was a good pick. Lewis Dunk, 2 points. Didn't really have an impact. Son and Maddison we've discussed, and we've discussed Salah and Gordon. Julian Alvarez with 2, Ollie Watkins with 4, and Darwin Núñez with 10. So first person that's had Darwin Núñez. Fair play for that pick. Unfortunately, did not have Haaland. A bit like Billy, no Haaland for Tommy and Billy, and it's cost them this week. In goal, we've got Virginia, Erdegaard on the bench as well. Akanji, who was suspended, 0 points for him, and Estepanion 0 points, and no points on the bench at all for Tommy. So that is the review of all of our teams, and we've looked at the league, so it's time to look at the players. Let's see how everybody is performing. We head over to the stats. We'll look at total points first, as it's sort of on the screen already, and that's what's come up, so that's what we'll look at. Top of the leaderboard is still Mo Salah, 83 points. He has got the most points in FPL this season, owned by 43% of you. If you look at second place, he's Erling Haaland, as you would expect, 79 points, but he's owned by 84.4%. So are some of you sleeping on Mo Salah, who is churning points out better than anyone this season, only owned by 43%? Less than half of you own Mo Salah. So that is something to think about. Heung-min Son is third, 78 points. Ollie Watkins fourth with 72. Like, obviously, you probably can't own all 4 of these players, but you have to sort of make a pick, really. You should own at least 2 of them. Like, if you can, maybe even 3. Like that, 3 probably maximum. Unless you want to take a hit and only play with 10 players or something like that. You should probably look to own 3 of these. Mbeumo, who's had a great start to the season, he's on 67 points. 20% of people own Mbeumo, but he's actually, he's had weeks where he's not done anything, just like everyone has. But he is sort of the main man at Brentford at the moment until Tony comes back, so he may still be worth putting in. But we'll look at the fixtures in a minute to see if Brentford have a decent enough run-in to consider doing that. Bukayo Saka, 64 points. He's looking a bit burnt out, Bukayo Saka, but he's still churning those points. I would think, though, that he might drop off soon because he's not playing particularly well. So I think he needs a bit of a rest. He needs a bit of a reset. But yeah, if you've got Bukayo Saka, then fair play. 50% of you own him. So it's one of those. James Maddison, 62 points. Gerard Bowen with 60. Alvarez with 59, along with Kieran Trippier. And then rounding it off, we've got Moussa Diaby with 57 and Douglas Luiz, as I mentioned earlier, with 56. So let's look at the round points. Let's see how many points players got this week of fixtures. As you would expect, Eddie Nketiah smashed it this week. Top of the tree, 17 points. This round. Sorry, 17 points this round. 7.2% of you own Eddie Nketiah. It's one of those where he does play a lot of minutes for Arsenal. He's not the most prolific normally, but either Jesus is injured, he can play on the wing, or he has been being played sort of across that front line. But hat-trick for Eddie Nketiah. So congratulations to the 7.2% of people that own the Arsenal striker. Erling Haaland in second with 16 points, getting 2 goals. Was it 2 goals? Yeah, 2 goals and an assist against Manchester United. Absolutely demolished Manchester United. It was a bit embarrassing, if I'm honest. Pinnock in third place with 15 points, scored in that 2-0 win against Chelsea. Good week for him, owned by 2.1% of you. And I know that a few of the hosts owned Pinnock. I think Sean Barron owned Pinnock at one point, probably got rid of him very recently, and now he's come up with a good performance, as is the way with FPL. Diaby there, 13 points, owned by 14.1% of you. Mbeumo we've already spoken about, solidly in there, owned by 20%, 13 points this week. Callum Wilson, we've not seen him yet, owned by 5.3% of you. Of course, he is a rotation risk with Isaac, That's the problem with Callum Wilson, but a good week for him. Probably one of the only Newcastle players to have a good week. Salah, I think I've said that right. I may not have done. 12 points for him. Good week for him. He looks like a good player. He is 7.1 million. He's only owned by 5.9% of you. So that could be something to look at, especially if Luis Diaz is going to be unavailable for a few more weeks. João Palhinha, 10 points this week, did score for Fulham. Darwin Núñez we've spoken about, and Heung-min Son we've spoken about, along with Semenino, they are on 9 points for Bournemouth after that goal and assist. So these are the players that played well this week. So congratulations to you if you owned any of those. So finally, we are going to check the fixtures coming into this week. Who is playing whom? Who should you be looking to transfer into your teams? The early kickoff on Saturday is Fulham versus Manchester United. Oh, you know what? Manchester United, I wouldn't be surprised if they went into that game without a manager, because Erik ten Hag must be on shaky ground. The players don't look like they're playing for him. I would just stay clear of Manchester United assets. Just stay clear of them all. Like, they might turn around and perform, but I just wouldn't risk this at all. Brentford versus West Ham. This will be a good game. If you've got players like Mbeumo in there, I think Brentford will probably come out on top on this one. So maybe look to get him in. Burnley versus Crystal Palace. Burnley have been able to score a few goals, but they do also concede a lot. Crystal Palace aren't really known for scoring a lot of goals, so it's up to you which way you want to go with this. It's probably not worth putting assets in for either team, if I'm completely honest. Everton versus Brighton. It looks like Ferguson is back up and firing, so it may be worth considering Ferguson if you're looking for an alternative striking option to Alvarez or Watkins or even Haaland. But Brighton haven't hit the greatest form recently. Ansu Fati starting to look pretty good. He did well in the Europa League last week. I did have him in my team, but took him out because he just wasn't getting the minutes. I know the quality is there, but if he doesn't play, he's not going to get me any points, right? Manchester City versus Bournemouth. Oh, wow. The City at home as well. Yeah, just load your team with Manchester City players. I mean, if you can be sure they're going to play, like Erling Haaland has to be captain this week, or maybe Julian Alvarez, but you want 3 Manchester City players playing. Maybe Phil Foden is the other one you can get in your teams, if possible. Sheffield United versus Wolves. Pedro Neto, I've seen in a few teams. He could be the one to get in this game. Nobody that plays for Sheffield United looks like they'll be worth having a punt on. They look very poor. In fact, they already look relegated. I know it's only November, but they do. Newcastle United then versus Arsenal is the 5:30 kickoff. This will be a tough game. I would probably stay away from both defences. I know Newcastle pretty solid at home, but they did concede 2 goals last week and they are playing Arsenal, so anything can happen. Yeah, I would probably stay away from the defences. But maybe somebody like Anthony Gordon for Newcastle, Gabriel Martinelli's looked in good form for Arsenal. They could be the players you look at if you're going to put anyone in. Nottingham Forest versus Aston Villa then. Yeah, I would definitely look at Villa players. If you've got Watkins, he could still be a good shout. Douglas Luiz in that midfield. Nottingham Forest are a bit hit and miss. And then Luton versus Liverpool. Wow, okay. So Manchester City and Liverpool are going to dominate teams this weekend then. I would look at 3 Liverpool players as well, definitely. Darwin Núñez looks like he's hit form. Maybe the Hungarian fielder, Salah, he could be one, especially if there's uncertainties about Luis Diaz. I would probably wait until the last possible minute you can before deciding on that Liverpool 3, because it would be Diaz if you think he's actually going to play. But it could be Cody Gakpo, it could be Diego Jota. But keep an eye out because you could really benefit from having 3 Liverpool players in this week. Finally, then we get to Monday Night Football, and this is probably the best Monday Night Football of the season so far. It's Tottenham versus Chelsea. This could be great. This could be a really good game. Tottenham are obviously in the better form. I would probably load my team up with Spurs players. Chelsea don't know how to sit back and sync up pressure. They will come on to Tottenham, and Tottenham may be able to pick them off. So I think, you want your Maddisons, you want your Sons, and I would probably steer clear of Chelsea assets because I just don't think they're going to lay a glove on Tottenham, unfortunately, in this game. that is it for the FPL show. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll be back the same time next week with another one. We will see you all next week for the podcast, the full podcast. That will be Monday night, filmed and aired on YouTube on Tuesday. See you then.